here today? She's like, no, I'm over there. Okay. So as they mentioned, they kind of introduced me as the community outreach specialist at Lord Fairfax, and yes, I was a past student. A big part of my journey was being a first-generation college student, and as I've been doing my job at LFCC, whether it's welcoming students to the campus or helping them get ready, I remember what that felt like, and I try to incorporate that experience into my interactions with our students. So I have with us today two also first-generation college students who will talk about their experiences, but first I just want to tell you a little bit about what a first-generation college student is, maybe some of the challenges that they face as they're navigating higher education, and then also what we're doing at Lord Fairfax and what you can do to support those students. So first-generation college students, when you're thinking about the definition, it can be defined 8 different ways, and depending on how you define it, it can affect how many students we say are first-generation college students in America. So it could be somewhere between 22% and 77%. You could say it's because none of their families gone to college before, none of their parents, or you could just say, you know, neither of their parents have a bachelor's degree. But for the sake of LFCC and what we do, we just say that first-generation college students are those students who neither of their parents have a bachelor's degree. So for LFCC, it's about 28% of our students, just over a quarter, so that's a huge chunk. And that's important to us as we're working with students at LFCC. And they're going to be different all across the board, you know, different ethnicities, different ages, different income levels, but they do face a lot of the same challenges. So as they're kind of navigating the system, they're not always going to know the lingo. Like, what is a credit hour? I don't even know what that means. You know, I didn't know what that meant when I started at Lord Fairfax. Or what is a FAFSA? Like, what is that? And scholarships, how do I even know if I can get one? Am I good enough? They're trying to figure out if they belong, you know, if they're kind of coming into the classroom feeling like they don't have that college background in their family. How do I even do this college thing? How do I be prepared? Is it different from high school? So as they're navigating that, they really need help and support to get them through. So at LFCC, we have a few different, I should not say few, we have a lot of different ways that we try to help these students from the beginning to end. So Brandy Boys is actually my supervisor, and she does marketing for the college. And when we put out messages to students knowing that a lot of the individuals in our area might be first generation, it's a welcoming message. It's we want you here. It's you can do this. It's we're going to support you. It's college is affordable. And when they're coming in, we also have an orientation that we do for them so they find out what that credit hour is and they find out what it is that they need to do moving forward to be successful. We also have an amazing program called TRIO, and these two ladies are a part of the TRIO program. To be a part of it, you can be first generation, have a disability, or be low income or all. But TRIO is a wraparound support system. So it's a federally funded grant program, and those students get advising for regular classes, they get it for transfer. They get to register 5 days earlier than everybody else, which is great because a lot of times first-generation college students, they got to go to work too, and you got to balance that schedule. So they're working on that with them. They also get grant aid, and basically the best way that I can describe that is if your car breaks down, we don't want that to be the one thing that stops you from getting into your class and taking that exam. So sometimes that aid can help students afford things that are kind of a barrier or a challenge to them as they're navigating. They get free printing, they get extra tutoring, so it's huge. Gosh, there's just so much that we do. And we're always looking out for students too. You'll hear us say at Lord Fairfax, if we see anybody, no matter what their background is, coming with the lost look, and I think you guys might have seen that before, you know we're gonna go and help them out. So as far as what we can all do together, you might not realize it, but you all can have an impact on a first generation college student. It might be somebody that works for you, that's thinking about going to college, and maybe they're just really unsure. And you're saying, I believe in you, you can do that. That might be the one thing that gives them that drive and that motivation. If there are children, you know, letting them know, I support you. Maybe I don't know, like my parents, I don't know how this works, but I'm gonna be here for you. That gives them that comfort and that support system as they're going forward. Or I'm looking at Joyce, who's been so involved in education. The programs that you're doing in this community are so huge, and they make ripples beyond what we can even imagine. So all of us has a part to play in those students' success. So without further ado, I will allow the ladies to go ahead and introduce themselves. They're going to talk about their experience as first-generation college students, maybe some of the challenges that they face, the little victories along the way, and just any encouragement they have. So I'll let you guys take the stage. You ready, Miss Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hello. So I'm Sarah Downs. I'm 19. I've lived in Front Royal for the last 10 years for the majority of my high school and middle school years. Don't mind me using my paper, I don't want to forget anything. I'm a first generation student and a daughter to a single mother. I'm pursuing a degree currently in human services and eventually would like to work for the United States Health Department or in legislature. So I plan on running for the Warren County Board of Supervisors. So we have it covered on both. You know what I mean? I really want to run for the board and help just within my state. I currently go to school at LFCC, work at LFCC, sleep at LFCC, and I also volunteer in my community with Rotary, Stop Hunger Now, Trinity Lutheran Church in Stephen City, Rescue Mission in Winchester, and I help at the library, love the library. So growing up, school really wasn't like that important. Like in middle school and like in my first years of high school, it wasn't like really like that important to me until I really got into like the last semester of my freshman year of high school, and I realized that like we had somebody come and talk to us about college, and I realized that 4 years goes by really fast. And so I started working my butt off because I wanted to be the first person in my family to graduate from high school and actually go on to college and finish college. And so I started working my butt off, and luckily I was lucky enough to graduate with a 4.0 last year. A lot of people ask like, oh, you had such a high GPA, why did you go to Lord Fairfax and not a 4-year? I wasn't ready to leave Front Royal or like just my home in general, and I love the people out here, and so I just wasn't ready to leave. So I was like, I'll go to Lord Fairfax. And my first semester was summer semester, so last summer, and I started going, and I was like, this is the place for me. I started working there, and like I realized that like it's such a different environment. Like, and by different I mean it's like an awesome environment. Like it's so. Everybody there like genuinely like wants students' success. And I work in advising, so we see the most students. We help students set up their schedules, help them get into programs. So when you said you wanted to go into IT, I got you. I got that program. And so like I just knew. And so I was doing well last semester, but I had some like falls and dips because it was my first full-time semester. So this semester I applied for TRIO. I got in, and because I'm a first-generation student, and like TRIO has helped so much because I get like more one-on-one advising, one-on-one tutoring, free printing, which is always a plus because you know that paper always needs to be printed. But like I think TRIO and just Lord Fairfax in general is like way more than I expected, because like when you hear about college and like four-year universities and community colleges, like my teachers in high school, which they did a good job at preparing me at Skyline, but they always made it sound really scary. They were like, that professor wouldn't accept that paper after 3:30. So I was like so nervous because they were like, and at LFCC it's a different environment. So the other day, last week, I wasn't having a good day, let's just say that. So I went into the TRIO office to print a paper, and my advisor, or like any of my professors, could tell I was off that day. And no joke, like all my professors stopped me and was like, hey Sarah, are you okay? And like that's like what LFCC is because they actually take the time to like stop students and listen to them. Sorry guys. I just care so much about it.
It's good. We care about you.
Because like it's so hard being a first generation student. Like you have no idea like what to expect. And like so many students in my community, like who graduated from Skyline, like I text them and I'm like, you guys need to get enrolled at LFCC because like they're first generation and like their family don't know how to help, they don't know how to start. And so like if you know a student in this community who needs that, like definitely push them to LFCC because like it's so awesome. And like I just wanted to say that. And I'm sure Stefany would probably agree with how awesome it is. So, Steph, would you like to tell your story? You can go now. Let's just not even address
She's
the
just
awkward
my
moment. I'm that student. I'm that kid, so I'm that kid.
There's so much going on. Okay, so I guess we'll start with
fact that neither of my parents graduated high school. My dad didn't even finish 8th grade. My mom, she finished 7th grade. And they took me here to the United States. They brought me here. My mom actually, in our culture, in Hispanic culture, it's, how do I say this? So I was born in El Salvador. Let me start all over again. I was born in El Salvador. My parents were already living here in the United States, but for some reason, I was born in El Salvador. Everybody told my mom to bring me to the United States once I was 12. And my mom was all for it, but she says that she knew that she had to bring me here sooner rather than later. So she brought me here when I was 2 years old, and I cannot be more thankful for that opportunity to be here and grow up and find myself in this country, in the wonderful community that is Winchester. But as I was growing up, college was never really on my mind. It was just kind of like something my parents told me I had to do, but not something that I truly wanted to do. It is a white minority in Winchester, so I also didn't feel that connection to my own ethnic background and the diversity. It wasn't until I moved to Hyattsville, Maryland, where it's predominantly minority, that I found out that there are people who supported me and who believed in me. They pushed me towards taking higher, like, honors classes, AP classes, and at first I didn't think I was going to be able to pass those classes. I took them because they told me to. I was like, okay, I guess this is how it's gonna be. And once I was there, I realized how much I loved learning. I just loved taking in all this information and getting to know professors who actually knew what they were talking about. And I mean, it's like sometimes you have the teachers are so great, but sometimes like they probably teach subjects that they're probably not too familiar with. And just having like that mastery that I found in like my higher honors AP courses, that was so much help for me. Then I moved back to Winchester, and what I learned in Hyattsville and learning to accept myself and learning to put myself forward, I also used that in Winchester, and I tried to continue that that path that I was taking in Maryland. But then I got to senior year, and I was like, okay, I'm taking all these courses and taking all these AP classes, but what do I do with them? I knew I had to go to college. My parents were always reminding me, send in those apps, send in those applications, but they didn't know about FAFSA. They didn't know anything about college, honestly. When I asked them for money to pay for my AP courses, they were like, I don't know what that is, but here you go, just take the money. And I was like, thanks, Dad. And they always gave me their unconditional support, even though they probably didn't even know what was going on in my school life. They just wanted to give me their unconditional support. But I was still very confused. I didn't know what I was doing. Nobody else had gone. He had even graduated high school, much less gone to college. And I also was not ready to leave home. I'm a big part of my younger siblings' lives. So if I left home, I felt like I wasn't prepared. They weren't prepared. So I decided to go to Lord Fairfax, and that has probably been the best decision of my life. I don't know, I was so scared of college because everybody was like, all these huge classes, 200 kids to a class. It was terrible. And even today, I could tell, I kind of confirmed that this was the best decision of my life when after my midterm, I sat out in the hallway talking to my professor. He's the sweetest man ever. He makes sure that you're okay with everything. He's like, hey, make sure you study this, or like, are you okay this week? He cracks jokes, he brings us like little treats, and it's just like, that's very important to me because I feel like I am part, and we connect, and I feel like I just do so much better there. It also has helped me to be involved in my community at Lord Fairfax and volunteering with Kelli and the student ambassadors. I get to be much more part of my community in Winchester and like all the surrounding areas. And like Sarah, I also work at school. That has been a huge help as a work study because I sleep there, I wake up there.
You don't need the gas.
I don't need the gas. I go to class at 9 a.m., classes end at 12, I go back to work, then I go home, and it's like, it's such a great feeling to feel that you're part of that community, to feel that you're actually making a difference at Lord Fairfax. And then you meet other students and you're like, where are you going? Don't go to a 4-year yet. You have to stay at Lord Fairfax, graduate, get your associates there, and then transfer. It's been such a great help. And yeah, it's just wonderful.
Thank you so much for sharing your stories. Yeah, no, and I always learn something new from them every time. Like, I've gotten to know them over the past 3 semesters, but you guys did great, and that's why we want to share stories. And even all of you sharing your stories, if you were a first-generation college student or any kind of challenge that you might have experienced in higher education or just in life in general, is just going to propel the next generation to do so well. So we love being a part of this with you. We did want to open up for questions if you had any questions for us as first-generation college students or questions about Lord Fairfax in general.